My wife cites Goonies as her favorite movie. It's a pretty loud film. I recall my father turning to me and my brothers in the cinema and saying, "Can we go now?" Richard Donner and screenwriter Chris Columbus pretty much punch you in the mouth with action sequences and broad humor. It's a miracle that the jailbreak gorillas and the rubber octopus didn't make the final cut. The octopus at least made it to TV broadcasts.
The octopus was voice killing.
This is second-generation Spielberg stuff, and the fruit does not fall far from that E.T. and Raiders tree. It's generously ridiculous, and this is not necessarily a bad thing. This is the apex of kid filmmaking. Donner wrangled a wild bunch of children for a long and complicated shoot. The kid stars had subsequent careers in blockbusters, other blockbusters, Oscar favorites, and off-screen careers in Hollywood or elsewhere. Josh Brolin beat up Deadpool and killed half the universe and was nominated for a Coen Brothers film. And somebody carried Frodo up Mount Doom. Jeff Cohen, who's now a successful lawyer, and Cary Green, who became a director and playwright, both got hot in middle age. The nerve of these people. I am thrilled that Ke Kwan is finally getting back in the limelight in 2023, despite my wife's lifelong crush on that jerk. He seriously is one of the best things in Temple of Doom, holding his own against adult actors and being a much better next Indiana Jones than actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
The kids all fall into stereotypes of one sort or another, but the movie works because those stereotypes are all infused with conviction from the young actors. Maybe you got a fat kid, an Asian STEM genius, a jock, a dork, a cheerleader, her Marcy. But on the other hand, you have the heart, the brains, the Noive's smarter little brother, a hopeless romantic, and their social conscience.
Bran, God put that rock there for a purpose, and I'm not so sure you should move it or anything.
Next time you kiss him, do it with your eyes open. It's a whole different experience.
A couple gags based on Chunk's chunkiness and Data's vocabulary feel a little squirmy and dated, but there's not much in this movie I'm embarrassed to love. You can complain that every character is a caricature, but then they get moments like Data going off on how hard he works and his friends just taking him for granted.
Some guy up there told me I have stupid inventions, and I've been spending months and months studying on them and inventing them.
Or Chunk negotiating the sharing of a Baby Ruth bar with a terrifying man who he calls Sir and pushes himself to be kind to. Or Bran just taking care of Mikey despite their bickering. Every character is given a chance to show their depth despite all the screaming. As for the adults, Joey Pantoliano has an amazing track record as a character actor, but there's a guy here who blows them all away. And it's Robert Davi. He's wonderful here, and in License to Kill, and in Die Hard, and in the Die Hard ripoff No Contest, starring Shannon Tweed of all people as a beauty pageant queen who steps into Bruce Willis's lack of shoes in an identical situation. In a movie with Shannon Tweed, Andrew Dice Clay, and Rowdy Roddy Piper, Davi still gives it 110%. In Goonies, his wounded elder brother, smarter and more talented and less appreciated than Pantoliano's, rises far above the material. Until Act 3, which turns the Fratelli brothers into the bad guys from Home Alone. So back in the long, long ago, Richard Donner was the guy who had made Superman, pretty much the only good superhero movie ever made up to that time. And you add to that Lady Hawk and Lethal Weapon, and Richard Donner was an 80s juggernaut. His ability to wrangle big special effects and 7 minors and come out with a hit is a miracle on par with making Christopher Reeve fly. Chris Columbus, who had several sterling masterpieces, and also less than masterpieces, wrote the Goonies screenplay. And I think there lies the singularity. Donner brought the action and character interactions that made it brilliant. Columbus wrote the wonder and mystery that made it magical. You look at the unveiling of the map, of the cabin, of the death organ, of the pirate ship, and you can see the magic that Columbus would later instill in the first Harry Potter films. Spielberg has said that he based the Goonies story on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. And if you're familiar with that ride, the first half certainly feels like Goonies. Caverns, skeletons, unexpected waterfalls, a corpse sitting atop a mountain of treasure, it's all there. What Columbus and Donner added was exactly what the Disney ride refuses to give you, a map. 2, actually. There's the in-movie map, which mouth translates into miraculously rhyming English, and the mental map of the tunnels. When my wife and I were dating, I drew a map in a love letter to her of the caverns because they were hypnotizingly specific. Cabin to hallway, pipe room. Doesn't really make any sense. Why would the country club be located a few yards away from that cabin on the coast? But let's move on. Trap room under the wishing well. Entrance to the ship grotto through the giant skull. Also makes no sense, but it's super cool. Water slide down into the grotto and then escape through the cave as the ship sails away. Any editor will tell you that the key to successful storytelling is geography. When the Empire attacks Hoth, you know the Empire is on the right side and the Rebellion is on the left side. And our basic training, thanks to Western writing, tells us that going left to right means progress, and that's what Luke does. Goonies is a masterpiece in that sense. It fulfills what the Western-trained brain expects, and it does it with fun traps needing to be overcome. Always left to right. The most sinister trap is the death organ, which we face front on as Andy tries to use her learning to overcome it, and it's genuinely scary. The same goes for the wishing well trap, which we face in a directionless round room. We don't know where to go from here. Data nearly dies. When the trick floor is opened and Data survives and the organ puzzle is unlocked, guess what? The door opens on the right. The movie's geography is absolute. Mostly. How the kid's journey starts on a peninsula, then goes under a country club, and then ends up back on the peninsula, that's pretty vague. But A, it's a kid's movie, and B, what matters is that we know exactly where we are at all times. A lot of ink has been spilled about how the Michael Bayism of Hollywood has turned movie climaxes into confusing gobbledygook. This movie offers you a map, and uses it precisely. There are other great kid adventure movies from the 80s. Monster Squad, Explorers, Flight of the Navigator, all fun movies that I'm grateful to have grown up with. But Goonies is the only one that captures those, whoa, how am I seeing this moments. It's by no means a perfect movie, but it's one of the moviest movies ever. Goonies understands filmic language like few other films do, and it's tremendous fun at the same time. It's up there with Cinema Paradiso or Robin Hood in understanding the joy of just going to the cinema.